2 Kings chapter 13. In the 20th and 3rd year of Joash, son of Ahaziah, king of Judah, Jehoahaz, son of Jehu, reigned over Israel in Samaria 17 years. And he did the wicked thing in the eyes of the Lord, and went after the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, who led Israel into sin. He abstained not from them. And the Lord was provoked in anger to rage against Israel. And he gave them into the hand of Hazael, king of Syria, and in the hand of the son of Hadad, son of Hazael, all the days. And Jehoahaz beseeched the face of the Lord, and the Lord heeded him, for he beheld the affliction of Israel, because the king of Syria afflicted them. And the Lord gave deliverance to Israel, and Israel came forth from beneath the hand of Syria, and the sons of Israel sat in their tents, as yesterday and the 3rd day before. Only they abstained not from the sins of the house of Jeroboam, who led Israel into sin. They went by them. And indeed, the sacred grove was established in Samaria. For there was not left behind to Jehoahaz a people, but only 50 horsemen, and 10 chariots, and 10,000 footmen. For the king of Syria destroyed them, and appointed them as dust for trampling. And the rest of the words of Jehoahaz, and all as much as he did, and his dominations, behold, are not these written upon the scroll of the words of the days of the kings of Israel? And Jehoahaz slept with his fathers, and they entombed him in Samaria. And Joash, his son, reigned instead of him. In the 30th and 7th year of Joash, king of Judah, Joash, son of Jehoahaz, reigned over Israel in Samaria 16 years. And he did the wicked thing in the eyes of the Lord. He abstained not from all the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, who led Israel into sin. He went by them. And the rest of the words of Joash, and all as much as he did, and his dominations which he did with Amaziah, king of Judah, have these not been written upon the scroll of the words of the days of the kings of Israel? And Joash slept with his fathers, and Jeroboam sat upon his throne. And Joash was entombed in Samaria with the kings of Israel. And Elisha became ill with his illness of which he died. And Joash, king of Israel, went down to him and wept upon his face, and said, O father, the chariot of Israel and his horsemen. And Elisha said to him, Take a bow and arrows. And he took to himself a bow and arrows. And he said to the king of Israel, Set your hand upon the bow. And he set his hand. And Elisha placed his hands upon the hands of the king. And he said, Open the window according to the east. And he opened. And Elisha said, Shoot! And he shot. And he said, The arrow of deliverance of the Lord, and the arrow of deliverance in Syria, and you shall strike Syria in Aphek until completion. And Elisha said to him, Take arrows. And he took. And he said to the king of Israel, Strike against the ground. And he struck 3 times, and stopped. And the man of God fretted over him, and said, If you struck 5 times or 6 times, then you would have struck the Syrian until completion. And now 3 times you shall strike Syria. And Elisha died, and they entombed him. And armed bands of Moab came in the land at the coming of the year. And it came to pass, as they were entombing the man, that, behold, they beheld the armed band, and they tossed the man in the burying place of Elisha. And it went and touched the bones of Elisha, and he came alive. and rose upon his feet. And Hazael, king of Syria, squeezed against Israel all the days of Jehoahaz. And the Lord showed mercy on them, and pitied them, and looked upon them on account of his covenant with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. And the Lord wanted not to utterly destroy them, and he did not throw them from his face until now. And Hazael, king of Syria, died, and the son of Hadad, his son, reigned instead of him. And Joash, son of Jehoahaz, returned and took the city from out of the hand of the son of Hadad, son of Hazael, who took it from out of the hand of Jehoahaz his father in the war. 3 times Joash struck him, and he returned the cities of Israel.